So I'm just putting certain stuff in the jumbotron right now. What happened out in California was huge. I was trying to find Chad's post because I really didn't want to put nothing negative in the jumbotron, but I gotta post what I have, which was in response to someone giving someone else the credit for what happened in California, as if that individual had anything to do with what was going on in California. So I got to put that one in there. And the last one I'll put in here while I'm thinking about everything is our presentation to the OMB. This was a great year for the freedmen. And just to speak about me personally for a brief moment, I sacrificed a lot this year. This whole year has been crazy for me on the one hand, but on the other hand, I kept seeing the fruits of the sacrifice for what this freedman thing is about. It is a legal status that our ancestors attained after largely fighting to free themselves from slavery. Because when you break it down to its bare minimum, well, that's how I see it. When I break it down to its bare minimum, let me say, that's how I see it. Abraham Lincoln said, if it not for the black freedmen, the North surely would have lost this Civil War. Now, paraphrase. We fought so that we could have freedom. And in freedom, we attained a certain status. And that status is American freedmen. Well, that status is freedmen, excuse me. The fact that we were American citizens who were disabled by racism and racist policies all across the country, then we add American freedmen. And it kind of swings as an ethnic identifier in that sense. In that sense. And that's why I put in the Jumbotron the breakdown that Brother Ali gave for the Office of Management and Budget on why American freedmen should be the ethnic designation and how we disaggregate what's called blackness in this country today. So the first thing I have in the Jumbotron is a proclamation that I was able to get signed by the mayor of Athens, Georgia. Now, I've put in a lot of community work in this city, right? I put in a lot of community work out here, and I have a track record to prove it. I just never brag about none of that stuff because I don't think that is worth bragging about. When you come across those whom you may bump into that may be in this same field, then sometimes you got to let them speak on you and your works, as opposed to getting up there saying, I. Every person has a little bit of selfishness in them. We are all fitted with egos. All of us, every human being on this planet. The animals are fitted with egos. But those of us who have the wisdom to recognize that we do everything within our power to suppress the ego and suppress the selfish nature that, that's a part of humanity. And so a part of what we were trying to do was get these proclamations moving all across the country. And it wound up being a good conversation that I had with the mayor, because the night prior, he was at a lecture, because this was back in February, so we're talking Black History Month. And the very night prior, he was at a lecture and the freedmen were the topic. So for him, it was so ironic. It was so ironic that I would be coming to the office that day, to the mayor's office, to receive the proclamation and chop it up with it. You said something, Ali? Oh, I thought I heard you saying something.
No, no, I didn't say
Okay,
anything.
okay. My bad, bro. So that I just kind of wanted to start off with that because it goes into what we were saying when the ball dropped, that 2022 will be the year of the freedmen. And what happened in California was by far the biggest of everything, of everything. And I'm honored. I'm honored to have helped with resurrecting this term that our ancestors fought for in this country, and then teaching about it. We've done I don't want to say hundreds, but dozens of hours on this particular topic of freedmen alone. Hell, it probably is in the hundreds now that I think about it. And we were clear. We stressed over and over and over again that freedmen is not a clique. It's not a club. It's not a hashtag movement or hashtag group. Now, it could be, you could make a hashtag. I hashtag the word freedmen, right? Keep it in the algorithm. It's not a invention of our minds, of the minds of BTP. It is actually a very ancient status, very ancient status. And when our ancestors were freed in this country in 1865, it became the legal status, federally recognized. But even before then, you have states that had their own freedmen because they decided via their own constitutional conventions and by drafting that language in their constitutions that they would no longer have slavery in their respective states. And so you find that word freedman even before 1865, especially when it comes to our people. You have some people that speak about white freedmen, white freedmen. I'm like, what is what is that? Like, just show me the people that were in chattel bondage, that were properties perpetually of other men simply based on their race or their ethnic origin. And then show me that when the 13th Amendment passed in 1865, that this designation was intended for those very whites as well, meaning American freedmen. Now, anybody can be a freedman if you were a slave. You could find this in Roman times. I mean, like, this is elementary education. And some people don't want elementary education. They don't want any education. They just want to hold Twitter spaces. And that's it. But in doing our research, what was this, 3 years ago, we started to see a pattern. And that pattern was expressed through the teachings of the lost cause and how they started to change everything up. And that's how we got our organization's name, United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen, based off of the daughters of the Confederacy. So, they band together to whitewash our history. We're going to band together to resurrect our history and this status that comes with it. And since then, 3 years ago, our understanding has grown immensely. We incorporated the United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen in the year of 2020, and we have not looked back since. So, I just wanted to have this space today because we're coming to the end of this year. And I titled it this way because we want to make sure that moving beyond, we will be successful in all of our endeavors. And I know that there are a lot of detractors. There are a lot of haters. There are a lot of people that wish to see this thing die. If they can't have it their way, they just want it gone. They want it gone. And so they try to attach it to an individual or a group as opposed to recognizing it for what it is. And you can't get around that. And so this space is to celebrate the year 2022 as the year of the freedmen. So much was done. So much. Clarence Thomas in the Supreme Court set it off with that New York Second Amendment case by citing, and that's in the Jumbotron, citing the freedmen at least 8 different times in his opinion in that Supreme Court holding. And I said then what I say now, it was Providence. Then Ketanji Brown Jackson, and I couldn't find the other one for whatever reason, but Ketanji Brown Jackson, she put her, I didn't put that in the Jumbotron. I didn't put Ketanji Brown. Oh yeah, it's the first link. Where I said the second time in several months that we hear Supreme Court justices using the term freedmen. Although I slightly disagree with her opinion that Reconstruction amendments were quote unquote race conscious. They were simply based on the status of the newly emancipated. Race was incidental. I still stand by that. And I'll just say we've put some things together since the second case where the hated freedmen were cited by Ketanji Brown Jackson in the affirmative action cases of UNC and Harvard. But it has caught fire, and as it should. We need to go back to the ways and thinkings of our foremothers and forefathers in this land. And we've gotten away from that, not by our own volition, of course, but because of the miseducation due to people like the daughters of the Confederacy and the sons of the Confederate, what is it? The sons of the Confederates or something to that nature. In the second case, there was let me see, I have that headline in here as well. Go to the Jumbotron. It's the fourth from the right. And this is an article from the New Republic. And the headline reads, "The debate over the 14th Amendment in the Supreme Court's affirmative action cases hinges in part on whether Reconstruction era laws use the word quote unquote freedmen in a race conscious way." Again, Providence. We called it, me and Brother Logic, man. We had the same exact thinking when the ball dropped that 2022 was going to be the year of the freedmen. So now that we've stepped all in their wet cement and they can't do nothing about it, they can't repave it, we have left that marker, if you will, in that dry cement so that we could know how to move in 2023. And that's what this is about. That's what this is about. That was what Be the Power has been saying from its inception, right? The name itself, Be the Power. because that's the only way that we are going to change anything in this country, and that's by being the power. And along our specific journey, we were able to meet some great individuals. We were able to meet some not so great individuals. That's going to happen. We was able to meet some on the fence people, fence straddlers, et cetera, et cetera. And I've just taken the attitude that I'm not dealing with no more fence straddling. I try to be, just to speak for me for a minute and address certain things without getting into it, because I'm not giving these people any more of my attention like that anymore. But I will call out the BS all day, every day. So don't think that'll go away, because it won't. But I always try to put myself in a position of humility. That's why there's certain people I've forgiven in this space over and over and over again. I've had fallouts with certain people that I knew that it would mend later on, because I started to look at us as a family. I've never got into this for my own personal gain or personal aggrandizement. That's why I speak in we. You hardly ever hear me say I, especially when it's talking about the elevation of what we are attempting to do politically under this status of American freedmen. And sometimes, you ever watch the Gremlins? I think it was the second one. Or it could have been the first one. And Gizmo, he was being abused basically by his creation. those ugly gremlins that came out of him. And he got fed up. That may have been the second one. He made like the bow and arrow out of the rubber band and the paper clip, and he decided to fight the ugly manifestations of himself. He decided that he was going to fight back. And sometimes you got to fight back at those ugly manifestations. Got to open the shades up and let the sunlight shine on them so that they could just melt away. And that's what's happening right now. Opening up the drapes, and the sunlight is shining on those ugly manifestations, and they're melting away. And they're trying everything in their power to drag the movement with them. This isn't just about Nahiem. This isn't just about me. Y'all see the spaces going on, 24-hour space. What Jay said, just wake up eat some breakfast first. This isn't about me, family. This is about the collective success that's happening all over the country. And some people being mad that their thing is not included in that, as opposed to writing their own thing. And I got to speak to that part, because when we're speaking of the freedmen successes in 2022, we start to see the green-eyed monster arise, that jealousy bug that bites people. And instead of being congratulatory, they have taken the adverse position. They have become adversarial and want to drag this whole thing in the mud. The Supreme Court is litigating on if the term freedman was used in a race-conscious way. Like, what are we doing? Well, we know what we're doing. I'm just speaking in general. So, Brother Ali gave a presentation, just to move from that for right now, but I got to speak to it because it's prevalent. I see a lot of, that's, like I said, I come from out of the conscious community. I done had videos done about me. I done had all type of crazy stuff said about me in the past 14 years. None of that stuff they say bothers me, fam. I don't lose a wink of sleep. When I lose sleep, it's about strategy. Because I said this in the space before, somebody hit me up. It was like, you crazy. Talk about you go to sleep thinking about this stuff. Like, I can't help it. I got to think about the America that my children is going to grow up in. Because if I don't, right, and I'm just speaking of me personally right now, and if I don't do something, then if politically right now, then my children are going to suffer in ways that we probably have not seen since the 50s and the 60s, the way things are going now. The way things are going now. So yeah, I gotta step up. And if I gotta kick some ass along the way, asses will be kicked. That's a fact. Asses will be kicked. Because I gotta think about my babies and their grandbabies and my great grandbabies. These guys, these other people, the detractors, they don't think about that. All of our smoke largely is for white supremacists. We got a whole BTP channel that's been up for 3 years now. Or is it going on 3 years? 2019. When did we start it? Because we've been in a movement in this particular space at 20. I think, yeah, 2020, beginning of 2020. And so I will go back, scroll through all them videos. We had several focuses. One was fighting against white supremacists. That was the white supremacy. That was the primary focus of our channel. Primary focus. The second, of course, well, teaching was the primary focus. But insofar as response videos, white supremacy was always the focus. Always. The other aspects included highlighting people that were doing good work around the nation. And that's when we was rocking with the ADOS movement, to which we were never, ever members of or chapter members of, etc. The other aspect was addressing people that were non-freedmen who were making claims against our push for reparative justice. Our track record is clear. Our track record is clear, and we've been able to influence a lot of people along the way. Whether they admit it or not, that's a whole nother story. We don't care. We got it when we heard it the first time. They might not say it now, and that's cool, because you don't hear us running around saying, oh, if it wasn't for, oh, we don't do that. So it's about the accomplishments of us all. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. And so I wanted to do this space in celebration of that. In celebration that 2022 was a great year for the American freedmen. Put that name in the headlines, news articles. Brother Ali gave a presentation at the Office of Management and Budget. That video was in the Jumbotron. The presentation that he gave, we read it on the air. He went in, and it was at the point where, regardless of who went before us, y'all know the other group I'm talking about, because they split out. I'll just say it, they split our time with the ADOS Foundation. We supposed to get an hour, but we got 30 minutes. And it was cool. I was cool with it, because I feel that we have the more relevant and viable claim for, insofar as American freedmen being an ethnic identifier, than American descendants of slavery. Slavery is an institution. And by the end of it, the statistician, when Ali was winding it down, all she could do was just nod her head like, damn, I see what you, It was like, you know how you listening to somebody and they just breaking some stuff down and you just get it in a way like, damn, that's just undeniable. That's what the statistician was doing by the time Ali finished his presentation. It's like, damn, I can't deny this. If I had to, her face looked like if I had to make a choice on the spot, then, you know, I got to go with this Friedman thing. And the other family, our other family gave presentations on American Freedmen. Now we have somebody that's speaking against. I had to speak a little bit to the detractors, y'all. Now they in Twitter spaces speaking against American freedom. I'm like, ain't this something? They've been running around saying this for the past couple years. Now all of a sudden, is a problem. And that's why we always tried to stress that point that this wasn't something that we made up because we didn't. And history shows us what it is. So, you know, that part of it is clear. Just go back in the historical records. And that was one of the things that we've done. And I'm proud. I sit in this moment. I'm just proud. I mean, what's going on in California is setting the stage for what's going to happen at the federal level. Everybody's wheels are turning. Those of us that's really about how to move this thing forward, everybody's wheels are turning. That gets into that part. What to expect in 2023 and beyond. And I could sum that up briefly with more work. Because it only gets higher from here. It only gets higher from here. It only elevates from here. And in my opinion, personally, that's more important than everything else. Us elevating the work, you know, outside of our personal life. When I say everything else, I'm talking about the beefing back and forth with
Let me let
pretendians
me
and all
let
these
me let
other
me
people. Go ahead, bro.
jump in real quick. Um, there's no beef, right? Not from us. I don't have any beef
Indeed.
with anybody, right? I just want to make that clear. And pardon me, y'all, because I got the flu. So um, I have no beef with any of them. I just want to say that um, as far as people's personal, we done said this many times, right? And it's just to touch on it, and I don't want to stay on it because it's not worth it. As far as people's personal backgrounds, uh, their ancestry and stuff like that, I have nothing to say about that. You know, because that's their personal thing. I can't tell anybody what it is. But when it comes to the way the legislation is laid out in Cali, because this is what it's really about. It's really about the legislation in Cali, and specifically the disaggregation law, right? Um, uh, you know, that's where the beef is really coming from. You know, they have a problem with the language, but that's not us, right? And I made a tweet, right? And last night because I heard someone say uh they're moving the goalposts by not being able to do race-based legislation. So in response to that, I just said simply, you can be mad at us, but we're not the ones who ruled race-based legislation unconstitutional, and we're not the ones who said that to even do it, it would have to pass strict scrutiny. That wasn't us that did that. So the only thing that we really did was respond to that. That's it, right? We in responding to that, we wasn't trying to tell anybody anything about who they are. we had people. What wound up happening, and you got to be real honest. You had people see what was going on, right? Because the ADOS people can tell you this kind of element wasn't there at the beginning of the ADOS movement, right? This is something that came in like maybe last year or so, earlier this year or something like that, whatever it is. But when ADOS started, 2018, 2019, whatever it was, that's not what they were not contending with that. Uh, the Dane Callaways or the other people, right? They didn't. That's something that came a little bit later, and so you know that thing wasn't even on our mind. You know what I'm saying? We were just trying to we were just trying to do research is what we normally do, right? We were always researchers. We were always digging into books and old books. You know what I'm saying? We be digging up stuff that other people don't even be thinking about. We in the 1800s finding books, 1700s finding books and looking at that kind of stuff. And that's just what we did. You know what I'm saying? We've been doing that for years. So it was nothing really new about that. Um, and so I made that tweet just so that people could understand, like, yo, I know y'all mad at us, but you know, whatever it is, we didn't do it. You know what I'm saying? If you feeling left out of the California legislation, that's not that's not our fault. You see what I'm saying? Also, my brother posted a tweet. I don't know if it was in response or not, but he also posted a tweet, brother Chad, where he mentioned that the Supreme Court had ruled against race-based legislation consistently since 1978, right? And breaking that particular thing down. And so I'm just saying, like, this is something that the Supreme Court of the United States did. It's really not about us. Like I said, ultimately, all we were trying to do was respond to, excuse me, respond to what they ruled in the Supreme Court, right? And I think that what we did was come up with a way to move around the constitutional arguments about race, right? No, not telling anybody what their race is. If you're black, white, American, Indian, other, whatever, that was never the issue. The issue was how do we deal with this constitutional argument about race, right? And so that's kind of like our position. My bad, Joe.
No, no, you good, bro. And I'm glad you brought up the researchers part. I know you've probably compiled about, since I've met you, maybe 20 or 30 different notes on various topics. And it's crazy because many of those topics you could run a thread through and it'll lead us right to much of what we're talking about right now. Would you agree to that?
Oh yeah, because
Yeah.
we shoot, man, I did stuff on the 13th Amendment years ago, long
That's right.
before ADOS was even a thing.
That's right.
Um, the 14th Amendment, we've spoken about the 1866 Civil Rights Act years ago,
That's right.
and its relevance. You know, the Ku Klux Klan Act. Using
Hmm.
Boston. We talked about a lot of stuff. The
The
legal
other,
tender
the other
cases.
13th,
You
the
name.
other
Yeah,
13th Amendment that some people
there,
don't know
there,
nothing about.
there are right. There were at least two other, at least two, maybe three, but there were at least two other proposed 13th Amendments to the United States, and um, one of them proposed to keep slavery legal in the country. They wanted to do the complete opposite of what the 13th Amendment actually achieved, and they kind of used the language from Justice Curtis in his Dred Scott case, where it said that people of African descent could not be citizens of the United States. Obviously, this is during the time of the radical Republicans in dominance, and they shot that down very strongly on the House floor. And so
Only got 6 votes.
Yeah, yeah, man. They overwhelmingly voted against that.
Oh, wait, Ali, we ain't supposed to know this stuff, man.
And then there
Man,
was something,
good, bro.
another one called the Corwin Amendment. The Corwin Amendment. You can look that up. The Corwin Amendment. Corwin. And that was a proposed 13th Amendment, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going off of memory. Um, and I think that one had some votes, if I remember right. It
Yep,
garnered
yep, it
some
did.
votes.
Hmm.
But ultimately, that's not what made it through. So, yeah. And then the 14th Amendment, that when I wrote about the 14th Amendment, there were people, because of the Confederacy. Interesting story about the 14th Amendment. There are there is an element of Confederate holdouts and sympathizers who questioned the validity of the passage and adoption of the 14th Amendment. And they laid out all kinds of arguments as to why the 14th Amendment was not properly ratified by the proper number of states and yada, yada, yada. Uh, and so when I was writing about it, it was kind of to refute that, right? I knew that that law was put in place for us, and I was trying to refute the white supremacists who were saying that it was not properly ratified, because ultimately their belief is that the 14th Amendment made us citizens. And so by them saying it wasn't properly ratified, that, the next logical thing in the sequence is that you niggas are not really citizens of the United States. Right. And so that's kind of where I was writing from. And actually had some assistance from this law professor from out of university down in Florida who assisted me with that. So
Not
it
not a
came out.
law professor. Wait a minute, not a law professor, Ali.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, go ahead, bro. My bad.
Yeah. So he gave me certain scholarly journals and stuff like that to reference and whatnot, kind of pointing me in the direction of certain things. So I was able to use various sources that he gave me to compile a piece. Um, and one of the things that I came to realize about the 14th Amendment is that even though they say it made us citizens, what it really did, if you think about it, I want you to think about this. What it really did was make white people citizens of the United States again. Because understand, our people didn't leave the United States. They fought again as patriots, as patriotic as anybody, or more so, for the Union. They never left the United States. They never gave up their allegiance to the United States. The people that did it were the white people in the Confederate States of America. They rescinded their allegiance to the United States. They accepted the Confederate States of America as their new government, with a new president and vice president, a new constitution, a new Congress, and everything. And for all intents and purposes, in their minds, they were a separate country until the end of the war. At the end of the war, these people were forced to accept the 14th and 15th Amendments in order for them to be brought back into representation in Congress. So ultimately, the people who left the United States were the white people who rocked with the Confederacy, not our people. So when they say stuff like the 14th Amendment made black people citizens, no, it didn't. No, it didn't. It made white people citizens who abandoned their United States citizenship. And if it did not, think about this. If it did not, how then did all those white people who left the United States become citizens of the United States again? And if there's no law that made them citizens of the United States again, then that means you got a bunch of white people running around here pretending to be this superior class in this country who are descendants of people who weren't even citizens. Just something to think about.
And just to camel back off of that real briefly, when we look at the domestic terror that I don't know, I just like using certain words sometimes. I can't, I'm just in a using certain words type of mode. But when you look at the domestic terror that these devils were were doing against us, it was all out of politics. It was to shut down any chance of us having political power. And from my estimation, that has always been the play to keep us out of power. That's why this Black South strategy is dangerous. This is a dangerous, dangerous strategy when people really start breaking this thing down. And I know they probably looking like, oh, they'll never get it together. Just go look at the 20 Twitter spaces they got going at Nahiem. But
Hey
real
yo,
life happens outside of Twitter.
is it possible to pull up Camilla's tweet from that? It's a tweet from a man who gave a speech to some enslaved people in 1843. Um, and he was a free quote unquote Negro. He was a free black person, right? And he was and an abolitionist, and he was speaking to uh these enslaved people, giving a speech. This is 1843 now, and he told them that they were citizens of the United States. And I had to retweet it because I know that the last time, uh, the last thing that Dr. Darity and I did together, we submitted it to the law department at Duke University, and they rejected it,
There
right?
you
And it was
go. There you go writing stuff with professors and stuff again, brother.
right,
There you
but they
go.
rejected it. Um, and see, what's happening is this. Let me just say what's happening. We're actually turning a whole bunch of stuff upside down. The stuff that we're saying, nobody's ever really said it before. Not in this way, right? You have people saying certain things, and we were able to retrieve that information, like Representative John Bingham, right? He was someone who also said that the slaves were citizens with disabilities. But this is a white dude who was a representative in the House of Representatives who said the same thing that we wound up saying years later. And we were able to find that in the congressional records. But and as a
When we
matter of fact,
found that. Hold on, Ali. When did we find it? Well, you were the one that found it. How long ago was that?
that had to be like maybe 2016, 15, 16, something like that. Uh, it's something somewhere around there. We'd have to
I
go to
don't know.
Facebook and see. We have to go
Yeah,
to
I think I
Facebook
have
and see.
a
I don't know.
Facebook post up that I
Yeah, I
shared
don't know.
as of it, but that post that I have up, I put up way after you found that piece, and I know that for a
Yeah.
fact because I'm thinking about it right now. Let me just say, brother,
Mm,
I'm saying that to say that we didn't get in this space for no other purpose but to teach. And I want you to go back in definitely. That's why I wanted you to speak on some of your research. I've done similar research over the years. I've written about 8 different books. One of the books I actually wrote on the Moorish movement is still on Amazon right now. Noble Drew Ali and the Moorish Science Temple of America, the movement that cited it all. I've written several papers on academia.edu. One of my research papers is in the top 1% of all read papers on this site that has thousands and thousands of scholastic, academic, and other types of research papers. My paper is in the 1%. Me, I'm this guy from the housing projects in New York City. Right? I have no formal college education at all. I'm pretty certain y'all can hear it when I talk. This sound like this New York cat. I always say I write better than I talk. I might write something and you might ask the question, which I've been asked dozens of times over the years. You wrote this? I love hearing that. I just got to be honest with you. I was like, I'm smarter than I sound. I'm smarter than I sound. But um, the books, all of these different things, right? So now you bring that with you into this space, and you see uh, Chad, Friday, Market. Matter of fact, let's go back. Let's go back. You see Yvette Carnell, Antonio Moore, etc. So you
Mhm.
start and you pour your bag of goodies into this big gumbo pot that we are supposed to be brewing collectively.
Mhm.
And that's what we did. That's why you hear us getting shout outs from Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore. I still got them. I still
Mhm.
got them. But I mean, we wasn't doing it for the shout outs. We was doing it because we've been doing it. We've been
And
doing it for years.
it's
It's
just
like, oh,
trying to add on, man. It
that's right. And
wasn't trying to do that.
we helped. We helped them see things differently. And they helped us see some things differently.
Mhm.
And even when they got removed as some of the chefs, the gumbo pot is still there.
Mm.
It's still there. That thing is still being cooked with all of these different ingredients. And the people that put the their ingredients, their bag of ingredients in the pot, we see them leading now in places like California. This brother Marlon Watson, Arthur Ward, and Sister Cynthia out of Chicago. Like
Mm.
these are people that helped
Yeah,
start the base of the soup. What is that
absolutely.
called? Roux or something like that? They helped formulate the base of the
Yeah.
gumbo. And all we did was just add our bag. And once it all started coming together, we as chefs, we inspired each other.
Mm.
We inspired each other. So we was able to take from out the pot, get our ladle,
Mm.
get us a good serving, add our own seasonings to it. Because the seasoning in Cali is a little different than the seasoning in Georgia and the seasoning in New York and Chicago, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the pot still is still brewing. And there's always room for more chefs.
Mm.
Always. But you got to come with the right ingredients to throw in that pot. And the ingredients that many of these other people are coming with, it don't go in the gumbo.
Mm.
It doesn't. It goes in a different pot with a
Mm.
different set of chefs. But some of these chefs are insisting that they ruin our pot of gumbo with their ingredients. And we're saying, no,
Yeah.
we're not going to let you do that. We've been putting in work for years. And then in
Mm.
this space for 3 years. And you telling me you joined the Twitter space click 6 months ago and you got the right to tell me or question me? No, you don't. I don't have to answer to you. I answer to many of the people that's in this room on the stage. They hit me up about certain things, and they're gonna hit me up on the back channel. It ain't gonna be no public stuff. It's gonna be on the back channel.
Mm.
Hey, brother, blah blah blah, and we chop it up, and that's it, and that's that.
That's it. And I love that, man. I respect that.
That's right.
You know, uh, I love Brother Chad's wisdom. I love the way that he addresses things. Brother Marcus Champion, that's my dude. I mean, Sister Kelly, like Sister Roz, like you know what I mean? Like they've shown that they have our backs through a lot of stuff, and I'm talking about going all the way back to when we first started getting attacked and shit. You know,
Attacked by ADOS.
but
As to
yeah,
be clear.
yeah, and it was it. I think it started over the use of the word reparations. I believe that's what kind of started it.
That
You know,
I wouldn't say that started it.
no, no,
I wouldn't say
well, yeah,
that.
I wouldn't say that started it either. You're right
Yeah,
about that.
yeah. It was Tamara that started it, but the reparationist was there. Okay, now we got to find something to go at them. It's taking too long. We trying to remove them away from the gumbo pot, but
Right.
shit, they just keep adding more quality ingredients. Let us find one
Yeah,
of their reparationists. Let's go
and
at them over there.
they were actually trying to say, and I mean, that we were trying to change their lineage. I'm like, how? That was crazy. But anyway, that's what happened, and our family had our back, and they still here. That's how you know because they here right now. You know what I mean? And sister Tiffany Quarles. You know what I'm saying? The people that had our back are in this room right now. That's a fact. That's a fact. And I love and appreciate them. You know, I call them the trailblazers. You know, that's my name for them, trailblazers, because what they're doing is so important and it has never been done before. This is, I always say, uncharted territory, and these people set out on a journey and they're making something happen that has never happened before. So they are, in fact, trailblazers. They're showing you the path. This is how to get this stuff done. And so I appreciate that.
And that
Oh,
that
well, I wanted to say
go
um
ahead, bro.
about the thing with Darity because I didn't want to forget it. When the Cornell University, not Cornell, Duke, excuse me, I said Cornell, Duke University's law department, they rejected the piece that we did. It's a really ill piece that we put together too. Nobody's seen it except for our crew and Darity, but uh, it was a really ill piece, man. Boy, when I tell you, man, don't let me tell you something. When I tell you that we're turning things upside down, that's exactly what we're doing. And the white people who are in positions of influence and positions of power, they don't like that because it's like it's challenging all of the things that they have put in place, all of the pseudoisms, all of the lies, all of the misdirection, all of the disinformation, the fake um, the fake views on how to interpret law, all of that stuff. There's something that happened that was really powerful. Was the debate between Frederick Douglass and this European dude, this white guy. Um, I think he was an American attorney, but it happened over in Europe someplace. It was a debate, and boy, if you know what, I'm gonna try to find it and put it up if y'all haven't read it. But this dude, man, Frederick Douglass cleaned that dude up so crazy on the true meaning behind not the 14th, the entire Constitution. You know, they were debating the Constitution or whether or not it was a pro-slavery instrument or not, yada yada yada. Obviously, it can be argued both ways. You know, the attorney was arguing that it was a pro-slavery instrument, um, and Frederick Douglass was arguing that even though the government allowed slavery, they did so by making certain compromises to end slavery ultimately. And so that the Constitution tended towards the abolition of slavery. And so that was his argument. But man, you have to read the way that he laid that thing out, man. He destroyed that guy. I was like, damn, man, that was crazy. But anyway, they rejected the piece and it was like, well, we're not saying that you guys are wrong. This is what he said. We're not saying that you guys are wrong. It's just that, we think you should get with a constitutional law professor. Now, here's something interesting that happened about this constitutional law professor thing, right? Because this is a way for them telling you to go to a constitutional law professor or have you consulted one is a way for them to hide behind. It's like an appeal to authority. right? It's a way for them to hide behind quote unquote authority when they don't have legitimate arguments against whatever it is you're saying. Have you consulted a constitutional law professor? Blah 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 blah. My thing is what we're talking about. There's no constitutional law professor that's ever said that. I know they've never said the stuff that we're talking about because that goes against the status quo. Their thing is the 14th Amendment was ratified and it made the slaves citizens. Period, point blank. Right? There's no constitutional law professor talking about slaves were citizens. That's absurd. Like I was talking to another professor from Howard University. Now he's at Morgan. Just so you know, Nahiem, he left Howard and went to Morgan State. Um, and we were going back and forth about this whole slave as citizens thing. And he was like, "This is absurd. This is absurd." Now he's an historian, uh, Black history. He's a historian of Black history, and he's like a chair of some department, I think, at Morgan. Uh, he's like, "This is absurd. No one's ever said this." I'm like, "I know no one's ever said this, but the only thing you can do is say it's absurd. You can't say that it's wrong because from the technical perspective, and which is what we've argued from a very technical perspective, that citizenship being hinged upon allegiance to a nation. These enslaved people were forced into allegiance to the United States. They had no allegiance to any former countries of origin. Now, even when you go to the Dred Scott case, one of the things that the racist dude, Justice Taney, who was the Chief Justice at the time, who gave the majority opinion, Justice Taney said something very similar. He said, even though these people may be citizens of the various states, they are not citizens of the United States. This is what he said. So the point being, uh, he can acknowledge their citizenship by way of allegiance because he made mention of that. He made mention of the allegiance piece. They may be citizens of the various states and they're compelled to allegiance, but that doesn't mean they're citizens of the United States. So in making that statement, he acknowledges that allegiance is really one of the very important pieces in the acquisition of citizenship. So even when a person naturalizes in this country, what happens? They have to cast off the allegiance of the old country and declare allegiance to this country and to declare that they'll do whatever they're supposed to support the Constitution and the laws of this country. So allegiance is really very crucial to citizenship. The enslaved people didn't have any allegiance to any other nation except this one, even though they may have been compelled into allegiance, even though they may have been forced, their allegiance was still with this country. And many of them expressed that. And so going back to the piece that Sister Camilla put up the other day, where I can't think of the man's name because I can't see the tweet, but he's giving the speech in 1843 and he's telling the slaves, y'all are citizens. So it's not even a unique ideology. It's
It's
something.
abolitionist Henry Highland Garnet.
There you go.
I
There
think
you
this
go.
was 1815 is what this thing is saying.
1815. Wow. I
Quote
thought it was
from it. Yeah.
1843.
Oh no. Yeah. I don't know what
Can you
that. Oh,
read?
he was born. It's in the jumbotron. He was born in
Oh,
1815. That was in
let me see if I can read
1843.
that.
You're right. He gave that address.
Right. So he says this. Think of the underlying. No, he says think of the undying glory that hangs around the ancient name of Africa, and forget not that you are native born American citizens, and as such, you are justly entitled to all the rights that are granted to the freest. So he's telling them, I know that you're enslaved and in bondage, but the fact of the matter is, you're still based on what a citizen is and how citizenship um, was determined at particularly at that time. These people were citizens of the United States, but like John Bingham said, they were citizens with disabilities. This is exactly the way he described it, and I was like, that's a perfect explanation of it. Citizens, people with allegiance to a nation, but citizens with disabilities, meaning they are disabled citizens, can't vote, can't hold office, can't purchase, can't do this, can't do that, right? Can't testify in court, can't read, right? But still, they were forced into allegiance. So to the point where if a war comes up, these people, if they tell them they need to fight, they got to fight. They will still have to defend the country. So that's what it was. Pardon me, man. And so anyway, it's not a unique concept that we came up with. It's something that actually existed. There's another piece that speaks about that as well from this professor who did an article in this publication that we published something in. Uh, but she's speaking about somebody from Baltimore or Boston. It's either Boston or Baltimore. I'm trying to remember.
Wait a minute, Ali. I thought we were supposed to
Mhm.
be in here talking about people, not educating and teaching people.
Yeah. Well, look, I'll say something quickly about that.
No,
I
I was just joking,
I
bro.
know.
You know I
I
was
know,
joking.
but I just want to say something about that. I don't want to talk to anybody that has a problem with me, right, or with our organization. I don't want to talk to them, right, because I feel like we're past that. Like, and two, the things that they're coming up with, from what I'm seeing, that they're having problems with, it's so minute in my opinion. That's like, man, I'm not going to waste a bunch of time doing that because we already did that. A lot of stuff they want to rehash. We kind of already did that like a year or so ago, and I don't see the necessity of doing that. I don't see the necessity of doing that. And even bigger than that, we're not in charge of the laws out there in California. So you could argue with me about something. I can't amend the legislation in California. I'm not in charge of that. You know what I'm saying? That's not my thing. Shoot, I'm in New York and New Jersey. So
I do want to speak to that part. Brother
mhm,
Shannon, I know we got you up. I don't want to just have you just hanging out on the stage, but we in the
that's
little
my
zone
brother.
right now.
Yeah.
Um,
But,
and I'll come to you in a few minutes, though, bro. So I do want to read this because
hmm
this was a comment made, I believe. Yeah, this was on Chad's tweet. This was some guy named Max Fennell or Max Fennel,
hmm
and he says, "Is there a way to edit this
hmm
to include Black American, those who were misclassified from their indigenous tribe to Negro, free person of color, mulatto, African American, and Black?" And I was going to put this up in a jumbotron, but I decided not to. But now that I've read it, because I don't want to be accused of just making up something. But I
Yeah,
do have it.
nah, man.
Don't put it up. Okay, we
Nah,
won't put it. But it's on
no.
Chad's tweet. I
Yeah,
don't know if yeah, this was the recent tweet. This was today.
yeah. hmm
This was today he put this. 11:57 a.m. I want to read that again, Ali, and
hmm
let's break that
hmm
down. Is there a way to edit this to include Black American, those who were misclassified from their indigenous tribe to Negro, free person of color, mulatto, African American, and Black? I want to just speak to it first because I know some people have concerns about us addressing these people, and I'm gonna call them out. If you don't like the term pretendian, please don't come over here and listen to me or look at my tweets because that's what they are to me, pretending to be Indians, and they are being purposefully distracting. Now, this shows that this person doesn't know the process. Doesn't know. He's asking Chad, can you please amend this? Or maybe he's
No,
asking
not
the
amended.
task force.
not amended,
Huh? Well, not
edited,
amended. That's right. Edited. My bad.
edited.
Not amended. Oh no. Go in there. Open up this Word document in the state.
There you go. Because this is what you're dealing with, right?
That's right.
You just called it. Like, he doesn't understand the process, and so this is why you use the word edit as opposed to amend, because he obviously doesn't know that this is legislation already, right? So if you want to
Hmm.
change something about it, you're gonna have to either have it amended or repealed or something. You don't just edit it, right? It's not no Word document. You just edit. You know what I mean?
The California state legislative body has a new open source like Wikipedia. You can just come in and edit anything you want and add whatever frivolous, fantastical, whatever you want to add into. It don't work that way. And this is what happens when people are not listening to those of us who are teaching on the subject. Chad, Friday, who else was in that space that came up in that space the other night? Um,
I
Tiffany.
think Tiff was there.
They they came
Um,
in
uh,
Sister Morgan space.
Marcus was there. Yeah.
Marcus, yep. They came in Sister Morgan space and held a master class the process,
Mm, that was
on
so
the
powerful, man.
process, right?
So
And
powerful.
nobody took that and went and refined their understanding. You had some people that said they was gonna do that. They went right back into the nigger mud and wallowed around in it on
My
Twitter
brother,
Spaces.
my brother was very dignified and very articulate and educated in his response, man. And even
Mm-hmm.
with that, and treating the dude with respect, this dude started talking about you niggas is just jealous. That's what it is. You
Mm-hmm.
niggas is just jealous. And I'm like, damn. So out of everything he said, that's what you took away.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. That's yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I believe that's a white dude practicing a black man's voice. That's my belief. Nobody's ever seen this guy. He hasn't posted up a picture. People
Another
are
phantom.
another phantom, ultimately irrelevant. So that's why I'm just urging the fam to block all these people. Just block them.
Yeah.
They're useless.
There's a term that says beyond beyond logic and reason.
That's
And
right.
sometimes we get to that point where people are beyond logic and reason,
That's right.
and I don't know what to say except
And then they get
we
mad at
gotta,
you. They get mad at
yeah,
you when you start addressing them outside of logic and reason. He's too aggressive.
right.
Yo, let's. Uh, Brother Josh just jumped on, but Brother Josh, if you don't mind, usually always go to BTP first. But
No,
brother,
you stay with that. You stay with BTP. I do not supersede BTP. So no, no. If Josh is ready, let's go. Y'all go. Because
Josh, you got something you want to add, bro? No, definitely. Shout out to my brother Shannon Freeman Media. Good brother, man. Good brother.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. Shout out to Shannon. And, this space is titled The Year of the Freedman. And I just want to say, big shout out to all of you. All of you for the work you've been putting in. It takes something out of you. It takes, um, people are taking their time, they're taking their energy, some people taking their money, their professional background and skills, and putting investment into making this thing happen and moving this thing forward. So whatever level that you made a contribution, I just want to say for 2022, thank you. And let's keep the energy moving and see how if we could take that to the next level for 2023. Um, One thing I want to say about this, the whole, and I hope we don't spend the most of the time on talking about, pretendians and, obstructionism in general. But um, one of the things I gotta say is none of this stuff is really personal. It shouldn't ever get to the point where it's personal because we don't know any of these people personally. I don't know. Well, I should say
Right.
I don't know any of these people personally. I mean, there's only a handful of people that have been making personal attacks that I actually know of, met in real life. But um, I don't know why people are taking this thing personally, and taking it to heart to make personal attacks. It's not that serious. Like, this thing is, we're trying to get this right, and we're trying to make sure that the reparations claim is airtight, and we keep moving forward and building public support. And we're building public support, and we're in the process of building public support. I don't understand how people feel like it makes sense to want to like throw a monkey wrench into that. What you should be doing is aiding in building public support, not being a detractor and causing confusion and making unreasonable requests. Like, do people ever sit down and listen to some of the things that they're saying? Like, I don't, when we make a critique, people, like, I don't know any of y'all, right? I'm not talking about y'all on here. I know many of y'all on here, but a lot of the people that are wilding, I just gotta say, I don't know y'all, right? But what I do know is, if you have a sincere desire to see us get the justice that we are owed, um, I would think it's in your best interest to let those who know what they're talking about, that know what they're doing, that have made progress, that have had success, continue to do the work and not really get in the way of that. Because maybe, if you knew better, maybe you would have been a part of that. And if you don't know better, just be honest about that. Like, be honest about that. Sometimes people, that's the problem with Twitter, Clubhouse, and these other platforms where people can just get up and make their voice heard. That's the good part about it, right? But that's also the bad part about it, because you have not read the prerequisite material. You have not, you won't even show yourself approved by even doing a simple Google search of the actual, let's say, the California legislation. I was hearing people saying, well, Camilla is making six figures off the thing. I'm like, did you read the AB 3121? It tells you in there, if you go and read it, it tells you what the task force members are getting paid. It tells you that they are subject to like per diem being reimbursed for expenses, and per diem expenses, and those type of things. It doesn't say anything about people making six figures. So I just gotta say, man, like, if you really care about this thing, before you open your mouth and before you run your fingers on a tweet, guess what you should do? You should actually, maybe you should Google and you should read, do some of those type of things, because that, otherwise, like, you're causing confusion. You're helping to take this thing in the wrong direction. Like, for example, I mean, the people that, like Brother Nahiem just put on there, the people who are talking about add something to the California disaggregation part of it,
Eddie,
where we disaggregate. Yeah. You want us to add some unnecessary? Why is that necessary? Why is it that you feel that it's necessary for California to erroneously add some unnecessary information just to fit your ideology? That's just like somebody saying, that's like Hebrew Israelites say, well, put on there that we are the original Jews. Put that in there. Black folks who come that are the original Jews. You don't see them doing that. That doesn't make any sense. Whatever your ideological background is, the unifying thing is, we come from people who went through chattel slavery, fought and survived that institution, saved America, and we are owed a debt, and subsequent atrocities and harms were committed against us. That's the unifying part. Why do we have to interject all this ideological stuff that cause division? So people that feel like they want to say something like the freedmen, like, just the word freedmen, like, just go whenever you feel salty or sideways about us talking about freedmen, just go on YouTube and go on Google and just search freedmen and start reading the freedmen history. And if that doesn't resonate with you, if that doesn't get you to see that we're continuing the work of of the freedmen ancestors who are the reason why you can even, live in America and not being in chains, right? Then something is off with you. Something is off with you, and and that's really one of the main reasons why we can point to America and say we need reparations, because you look at how people are interacting. Obviously, we got so many psychological damage. That's all the more reason we need reparations. So, look, man, I'm gonna pass it back to you. My kid in the background is acting crazy right now, so I'm gonna come back and remember. But I appreciate it, brother Shannon. If you wanted to hop in next, brother.
Indeed. Tear it up, Lord Josh. Tear everything up. Go ahead, brother Shannon.
What's going on, family? I'm having this space. I need a couple minutes. I do. What's been going on is, it got to me, but I've learned to not let things like affect me in a way where I just do what a lot of these people are doing. And they're developing habits, bad habits, and it's coming out on these social media spaces. So this is about us and it's not about them. But the main reason that I requested the mic today was because now I've been thrown into something, and my intentions, as I believe BTP's intentions, as I believe American freedmen collectively have been good. But for some reason, they've been taken to be otherwise. And I'm trying to walk this down slow so I make sure I stay focused. But what we've gotten into is where now our names, and these are our names that are being thrown out here, and our reputations are being thrown out here wrongfully. So I appreciate BTP bringing this space up, brother Nahiem. Literally, you've taken darts and held your own and held your tongue, really, because if you were in the same space that a lot of these people who have been coming at you are, we wouldn't be here. You'd be somewhere else in another space or composing another post or whatever. But you've been who I've thought you were from the beginning, a very balanced, a very at peace individual. You can get with it. You went to shits and you went to shits today. So let me just say, I already know. I hear the sarcasm in your voice, and when you was talking about Brother Ali, people don't realize that this is just not y'all. Y'all just haven't Googled some shit, or this just ain't some prison babble. You guys are scholars in this space. And you're not just scholars because you went to some conventional PWI or HBCU, or just read a bunch of encyclopedias. You've lived a lot of these experiences, and a lot of the things that people don't understand is just before this Twitter sphere came along with these spaces and whatnot, and we were rocking with that hashtag situation. Y'all were doing the work way before this, way before it became fashionable to be on social media. So you can tell that about a man, or you can tell that about a crew or a club or whatever you want to be called out here. Because I don't know, they done gave y'all any name from, you a one-man band to a club, to a crew, to a gang. Now we're all types of stuff out here as freedmen, and it's crazy to me. But because we can take a lot of that BS, and I'm gonna keep your space clean because I've been working on it on my cast, so I'm gonna keep your space clean. Because you've been able to take that BS and churn it up and use it as fertilizer and fuel to move forward, I'm going to do the same. Because what happened, I guess there was a space, and I'm going to call him by name because the person that came to me called him by name. This individual's name is Sonny, I guess. I don't really know who he is. I believe I've been in spaces with him. And his name is Sonny. And he says that I was promoting Tariq Nasheed. I'm going to put Tariq's name out there. I'm not going to put what his government name may be, could be, should be, would be. I'm going to put the name that he trades under. I'm going to put the name that he's known under. I'm going to put the name that they're going to run back and tell. I tried to tell people when I first got into these Twitter spaces, when I kept hearing the leader, the leader, the leader, the leader, because we've been hearing for years that he's not the leader. And it's not because we didn't want to make Tariq the leader. It's because Tariq said he wasn't the leader. So I was just trying to follow the mantra of what the man had set forth. Not my mantra, not your mantra, not BTP's mantra, not ADOS's mantra, not American Freedman's mantra. I was trying to take on what he said himself. I only really try to go what people say themselves. I try not to do that hearsay shit because it doesn't work for me. I'm 52 years old. I'm old enough to know better, so I'm definitely going to do better. When I said that I felt that Tariq had did a admirable thing, because there's been a lot of shit out here. There's been a lot of shit out here, whether it be about the reparations rallies, whether it be about the shade on Brother Rashad or you or BTP or anybody. There's been a lot of shit out here. But the one thing that I've never, ever did was try to throw shade on Tariq. Now, I might have did that personally years ago when we was rocking with that hashtag or even just out of that, but it was all in sarcasm and it was all in good fun. And I think Tariq would actually laugh at it if he had ever heard any of the shit, because I know what Tariq's motive is in all of this. And I've said that. Tariq is a bag getter, and I'm never going to go off of that. Tariq is a bag getter. He's not a bag chaser. He's a bag getter. In this sphere, he is a bag getter. And what I said was he had did something admirable on his cast. And he said something that I got, and I clipped the audio, and I specifically talked about it in a space. Well, this young man named Sonny G chose to say that I was promoting Tariq Nasheed. Now, I'm sorry, my promoting days are over. I used to promote things. I used to promote parties. I used to promote political candidates. I used to promote things when I was on the radio. I've promoted all types of stuff, but I'm done promoting. What I do now is I produce, but I don't promote. I'm not going to march with you. I'm not going to chant with you. I'm not going to lay down in the street. I'm not going to raise my hands and say, hands up, don't shoot. I don't do that no more. We did that shit back in the 90s, and we're here now. So what we're going to do is we're going to produce, and we're going to produce results with receipts. And what Tariq did was he brought out the name American Freedman, not only in a positive light, but in a very business-like light. And I wanted to show that what he had done was he wasn't trying to cause discord. He wasn't being sarcastic. He wasn't being condescending. And I didn't think in any way, shape, or form was he throwing shade at American Freedmen. But still, that didn't bring me to promote Tariq. It brought me to bring out what the truth has been all along. American Freedman is a political classification. And we've been saying that from day one. It's a political classification. Nothing more, nothing less. There's going to be people that call themselves Black. There's going to be people that call themselves African American. There's going to be people that call themselves FBA. There's going to be people that call themselves ADOS. There's going to be people that call themselves color. There's going to be people that call themselves Negro. There's going to be people that call themselves nigger. Sorry, it is what it is. But Tariq had came out and said, if we handling business, American Freedman is what we use. And when I uploaded that audio several times during that cast, that must have been where my fan, Sonny, must have heard it. Because you got to be a fan to be regurgitating some shit that I said damn near a month ago. I mean, I wish you would come up in the chat rooms. If you're going to be in my spaces and be listening to the replays of my spaces and my live streams, come up in the chat room. Join us. Don't do this shit on your space a month later talking about something that you don't know what you're talking about. Because I'm not promoting Tariq, and I never said that FBA is bridging with the Freedmen or the Freedmen are bridging with the FBA. I've said all along, if you are indeed an FBA, if you are indeed an ADOS, then you are indeed an American Freedman, whether you want to see that or not. Whether you want to say that or not, you are politically classified as such. The only people who are not are the people who aren't. If you're not FBA by lineage, if you're not ADOS by lineage, then you are indeed not an American freedman by lineage. That's all it is. And since I said that about Tariq, I've become a promoter of Tariq. And I'm not sure what that really means, or Tariq and I are bridging freedmen and FBA, because I ain't nobody. I already told y'all.
Let me jump in. Let me jump in.
Please
real
do,
quick.
bro. Please do.
Sonny is a liar. He's like, you ever got a beating from your parents, and you be like, I wish she get hit by a bus. I wish she walk out in the street and the truck run over her. That's what Sonny and his whole tribe is. They butt hurt little kids right now. You know, I'm glad you addressed it, but I'm not gonna be wasting my time addressing these bozos. I'm gonna let them fade away into the non-pertinence that they were in before they came into this space, leeching off of the name Freedman by putting it in their titles in the first place. And
that
that's
helps
what that
swell
is.
up their rooms. That helps swell up their
That's
rooms
right.
when
That's
they're
right.
talking about us.
Because then I came in the room, right? And when I came in the room, the numbers quadrupled. Because people want to hear the debate. You know how that goes.
Yep.
You know how that goes. Oh, Nahiem debating with whoever these guys are. and that's what it was. Whoever these guys are.
Y'all have never went at anybody. Y'all have never lashed out at anybody unless it was in literally a comeback. I mean, you counterpunch and they don't like your counterpunch. Y'all never lead with the negativity. Y'all never lead with the negativity. If you come back, it's always on a counter from their negativity. And they just don't like the way you counterpunch. I was teaching Ray a couple of days ago because I was like, he needed a few of them 5s and 6s. He needed some 3s and 4s, and she didn't understand what I was saying. So I started breaking down the way Mike Tyson learned how to box. They taught him how to box with numbers. And you know this, Nahiem. They taught him how to box with numbers. And I was like, sometimes you just got to give up them 5s and 6s. I mean, that's just the way it is. And they don't like when y'all come back with them 3s and 4s, but your 3s and 4s, y'all 5s and 6s ain't never lead punches. They're counters. They're counters to what they say. And when you debunk their lies and you debunk all of the negativity that they speak on you, then they get mad. And they don't come back and say, you know what, we was wrong on that. Let's tighten this up. They go on to produce more lies. And that's the craziness of it all. And that's why it does have to stop. So I had to just intervene to make sure, because I ain't running from nobody. Once I heard my name and got into space, it wasn't, I could have went in their space and debated with them. What am I going to do? He's going to keep muting me, because that's what they do. When you come in their space, they just keep muting you when you start making too much sense. I've learned that misery don't love company. Misery is the company. That's what I've learned. Misery don't love company. Misery is the company. So what we got to do, it's time to get company out the house. We going in the back room, we grabbing arms full of coats, and we throwing coats at folks. It's time to get out the house. Because 2023 is going to be here, and we're not dealing with none of that foolishness. We're not going through this for a whole year. I don't know exactly how long Twitter Spaces have even been around, but I don't think I was really in it at the beginning of the year, because I was still doing that other platform that defunct apps. So I didn't get into Twitter Spaces till really about the middle part of the year. But I heard these clowns been running wild this whole year, and they retreads from Clubhouse. So they just ain't found nothing new to do. But they gonna have to find something new to do in 23, because we ain't doing this no more. This is political, not personal. This is about the collective, not about cliques. And this ain't about one man, nowhere, no how, no way. Not one man. And that's what they've been doing. They've been trying to make it about one man. Then when they couldn't do that, oh, it's about his crew. Oh, when they couldn't do that, oh, it's about their collective. What y'all gonna say next? It's all y'all niggas. No, we're not doing that. This ends today.
somebody said they was gonna what he said? He said y'all done crashed out. We about to put the nail in the Freedman coffin. I laughed. I thought that was funny. I asked him, what does he mean by crash out? Because I'm like, y'all be saying stuff. I don't even know what you talking about. What you mean crashed out?
What does crash out mean? I thought that's when
I
your
don't know.
computer like overloads and it has to read. I'm old. Y'all know I'm an old nigga. I don't know what
Yo,
what crash out
it,
means,
it,
dog.
I mean, I'm just saying, it's like you just saying stuff. Like y'all have a habit of getting on Twitter and just saying shit. You know, like the shit y'all say don't mean nothing to nobody else except you. So that's why I'm like, explain crashed out because I don't really know what that means. Like, break that down. He hasn't responded yet. I'm waiting to see what he says because I really do want to
I,
read that. But
I just don't get it. And the fact that, once again, to bring up that y'all not just doing this on your own, you're dealing with the scholars in the reparation space that you have gleaned to. You're dealing with the economists, the lawyers, the professors. I mean, you're dealing with the people that matter the most. They don't like that you can actually reach out and put your Freedman tentacle on a task force member. They don't realize that there's people directly connected to the task force in this space right now. They don't like that. And I don't know why, because it helps their needle. It helps their needle move
well,
forward too, to gain the information properly and put it into their spaces.
there's something that I recognize. It's bothering them because they don't necessarily see themselves as the same as us. They think that they're a different group of people, and so a different different group of people that has been forced to use the same racial classification of blackness. Nevertheless, they believe themselves to be a different group, and so they want
Brother Ali, you just said forced. Did you say forced?
well, that's what they say because they talk about misclassification and reclassification. So yeah, that, yeah,
Wow, force is a really, really strong term, because no one's ever forced me to be an African American. It was just told to me that I was that. No one forced me to be black. It was just told to me that I was that. But I would have been content. I would have been happy. I would have been ecstatic to have known the truth, to known that I was an American freedman as my young years, to be known as a black and then learn the term African American. I would have much rather learned that as a youth all the way up to my I guess I'm middle aged now. I'm not really an elder. Maybe I'm just an old head, but whatever I am, I would have much rather lived my existence knowing that I was an American freedman than those other made up names. Because from what I'm hearing, these people that think they are being forced to live a lie and they think that they are another group of people, I want to know, have they talked to their parents about this? And what do their parents think about this forced lifestyle that they've had put upon them? Because I'm not
and
doubting that anybody out here has some type of, will they say
and,
aboriginal? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, because I know Morgan want to go in and brother Chad is up, but I
Oh no,
always say
Marcel had his hand up first.
he's gone, he's gone.
Oh,
So
he on,
yeah,
We didn't get to him fast enough.
I
oh
don't know.
damn, I had some questions.
Maybe he had a
All
You
phone
know
right,
what?
go
call
He
or
ahead.
might
whatever. I don't
he
know.
might have another interview or something. I mean, he's a political
Right.
guy, so he might have
So
something else going.
so peep it, right? With the reclassification thing, I was like, your mom's reclassified you as black. She's the one filled out your birth certificate information. What did you talk about? Why didn't she put American Indian on there? See, that's the killer right there. It's like you went your whole life identifying as a black person, but it's because your mother put it on your birth certificate. Now, what's wrong with your mom's that she didn't put American Indian?
Y'all already see my post. Don't blame me, blame your mammy. Don't blame me, blame your mammy. She's the one that did that to you. Or your daddy, or your multiple stepdaddies that you had. Don't blame us. Don't blame Nahiem. Don't blame Ali. Don't blame Josh. Don't blame Ibrahim. Don't blame BTP. Blame your mammy.
Go,
All
go
right,
ahead.
Oh, I'm
Listen,
sorry. Views of Freedman Media are not
Yeah.
necessarily the views of BTP, Nahiem, Ali, Josh, or Ibrahim. So please clarify. Views of it, please.
It don't
Yeah.
matter. They're gonna play it anyway in they 24 hours, their next 24 hours speed. Go ahead, Sister Morgan.
What's up, y'all? So yeah,
Yo,
I
yo.
only came up here because the Jehovah's Witness was up here, and I'm like, it's Christmas time for me. So I really don't have time to spend on dude, but I just wanted to say, maybe I guess he didn't get no presents, nothing around this time. He a little angry. But I never switched up my temperature for him at all. Like, I've been saying consistently the same fucking thing about that dude ever since I introduced him to Twitter Spaces and he was talking that shit about abortion. Anybody can say what they want. I'm going to consistently say the same story. A feminine man telling women what they should do with their bodies irked me, and I just didn't like him. And I thought it was a distraction. South Carolina Carolina only has 3 abortion clinics in the whole goddamn state, and he started talking about his mom's potential abortion, how he was going to abort her brother. He's weird. He's fucking weird, and I didn't like him. And he didn't win at all. He's a loser, right? 2,500 votes. Come on.
Yes,
You know
people.
why? Because he had no potential to win in the first place.
Get
And
yourself.
that's why they dogged his ass out when he lost.
I was wondering what was happening. I didn't know. I was trying to figure it out. Like, what the heck is going on? Um, Marcel, we're gonna let you rock, man. You already know. Just go ahead. Morgan, Marcel, you
Tell this
Oh
normally
my
woman
go ahead
God,
and
shut
chat.
your little
dusty
troll
Oh,
ass
rodeo
wait,
up,
wait,
you
down her
little
wait, wait.
evil
body.
gremlin.
That
Shut up. Don't
haters,
nobody
do
want to
not
hear
need
shit
it
you got
out
to
her
say.
mouth.
I'm
You are
not letting you
ugly.
talk,
You
dog. Shut the
ugly.
fuck up
You
and
are
stop playing with my picture.
universally
I'll punch you in your
ugly.
fucking
You are
face. Keep
universally
playing with me.
ugly.
Hmm, okay. Um, what was you finished, Morgan?
Yeah, look. Let
Let
let Morgan finish, brother Marcel, and then you could go and we could hash it out after that. I just don't like that on my stages. The yelling and screaming over each other. Nobody can't hear anything. I just don't like it. I don't like to do it. See, I go on other people's stages. Sometimes I find myself yelling and screaming back and forth. I'm like, what are you doing? And so,
right.
come on, man. Let's get it off. If this is where it got to get got off your chest at, then let's get it off the chest. But let's just kind of do it with some decorum.
Yeah, so that
Go ahead,
okay,
Morgan.
thank you. So yeah, so like I was saying, right? The pretendians hyped him up, right? Now his head got big. Now like he's like the nerd in the class that got a little clout and he just don't know what to do with it. And he's running around, you're a goddamn politician, dog. I'm a fucking activist. You're not in the right space. You don't even know your role. You're a
Yeah, you are
habitual line
activist, all
stepper.
right.
You're a
You are an
habitual line
activist, all
stepper.
right.
So,
You're an
so
activist.
can he shut up or not? Like what's going on? It's not his turn.
I might,
It's not your turn.
I might,
It's not your turn. You're
I
a
might.
loser because you're
Hold
not
on,
Go
even
hold
a
on,
talk to your
Marcel.
white
politician. You
wife.
didn't win shit.
Go talk to your
You
white
didn't
wife.
win shit. You
Go
did
talk
not
to your
win
white
shit.
wife.
You ain't win shit. So can I finish it? Can I
Yeah,
finish
and
or
you a
not? Can
loser,
I
and
finish or
you
not?
a loser,
Can
and
I
you
finish or
can't
not?
win
Can I
even
finish
to
or not?
die.
Right? This is the wrong space.
Yeah,
This is the
hurry up
wrong
and wrap it
space.
up.
You a pretendian candidate, dog.
Hurry up and wrap it
God
up.
damn. I'm not. Whatever. Nigga, get some Christmas presents, you little salty troll. I'm out.
Get some sweatpants, you fat Rosie O'Donnell melted ice cream shaped bitch. Let me tell you something. I'm gonna give you the energy that you give to me back. First of all, you ain't an activist. You are a fat, messy homosexual going around campaigning against black men and black women having kids with each other. I read the article. You're campaigning against heterosexualism. I know you're bitter because no man can look at you without vomiting, but don't take that out on heterosexual black men and women. That's first of all. Second of all, you need some facial lotion, okay? Because your face is dry. It's like it's on a damn fire.
All right, hold on. You got your insults back in. She got her insults, and I don't want to do a run on insult thing right now. Y'all got y'all insults off. Hey, there's no peace treaty coming about between Marcel and Morgan. But I got some questions for you, brother Marcel.
Hold on, Naeem. I want to
No,
talk to the
hold,
topic of
because
the
I don't
room,
want to.
though.
I don't want
No,
to
no,
keep.
I wasn't going to talk about that. I want to talk to the topic of the room. I've heard a lot being mentioned about receipts. You know, if you're going to put something out there, you have to provide receipts. I want that standard to be applied all throughout. Because I know yesterday I was in a room and I told them, you know, if Camilla says something that people felt was disparaging about Black people with indigenous ancestry, I said that's her personal opinion. She can have her personal opinion, but as far as the legislation goes, if she's not putting anything in the legislation to exclude anyone, then that's all that matters. And I said, for what I've seen, she hasn't. So receipts matter. So when you got people like that thing that just left this space who are saying that I have mismanaged money, we should be saying to that thing, where are the receipts? Now, I know it learned how to read in prison, for what I hear, because it's been there a few times. So we should be saying the same standard. If we have to show receipts about Camilla Moore, then we should be asking people to show receipts about Marcel. If people go after Camilla Moore and that's a problem, and we rally around her, then it's just for the reparations movement. We can't have people slandering reparationist candidates, but because for some reason we're friends with that toxic tub of piss, we let it slide. And that's all I want to say about that.
All right, all right.
Ugliest person I've ever seen.
First and foremost, I I'm not gonna respond to anything that no pretendians or anybody that's not putting in no work in this space is talking about. So fuck them. I just, I been kind of cool and mellow this whole space, but I just want to be really, really clear in how I feel personally. I'm not. I don't owe any of them people explanation about anything. That's first and foremost. When because some people were sending me clips of Sunny Space yesterday. Like I say, sound like a little butthurt child. And that's all they are to me. It's a bunch of little smart-tarded children. And that's probably what that's probably what they'll be for the rest of their lives. Smart-tarded minded little kids. But I noticed that he kept bringing you into the picture, right? And I posted BTP rocks with Marcel. That's why you on the stage. I said BTP. He spoke about the earlier. He said, "Oh, y'all didn't support Marcel in the beginning." That's a fact, but he don't know the backstory. But you and I know the backstory, and I don't speak on no backstory. So we know what that was about in the beginning and how we deaded that and how it became in the end. But these new dudes, they don't know. And even if they did know, they would still go on and repeat the same lies because that dude Sonny is a liar. He has no integrity whatsoever. And I know he's listening. And I want him to hear me say that. And so when I made that post, that comment on that tweet, he
Before you go
responded.
through, Nahiem, he might not be listening because he likes to listen to the stuff and regurgitate it later. So he's probably going to just lay back and get on and lay on his stomach and listen to your space later with his legs kicking up in the air. Go ahead.
So I know you're right. You're right. So I noticed that,
Don't forget,
he
don't forget,
responded.
brother Chad. Brother Chad is
No,
waiting for
oh,
the
damn,
other
that's
one.
right. That's right. That's right. He responded with a clip, playing a clip from Morgan, right? And what Morgan said about you. And Morgan just came up here and said what she said about you in that same, so she just repeated the same exact thing. She said she has the same exact smoke, right? So my thing is with the whole Tariq Nasheed FBA rally versus what we were doing in October. But like we listened to this dude sabotage our event over and over and over again after we showed clear proofs of whatever, whatever, whatever. I didn't stop rocking with Marcel because of Marcel was going to speak at Tariq's event after this dude just sabotaged our event. Cause that would have been some sucker shit. And I'm not no sucker, so I don't do sucker shit. Only suckers do sucker shit, right? So I had seen you click like on Sonny's post, and I'm like, This is interesting because the position that I would take in that situation would be neutral. It's like, you know what? It's just like I had to tell one of the sisters that I rock with. She made a comment or tweet about Morgan. Why do y'all? I'm like, sis, don't question me like that. You got people that you rock with that I don't rock with and won't ever rock with. Period. Your enemies ain't my enemies, and questioning me like that, I don't want us to become enemies, basically. Because I'm not questioning nobody, especially on no public tweet. Yo, why you rock with this one or why you rock with that one? I'm just not doing nothing like that because I think that's corny. So when I'm looking at that, my mind is like, all right, so is we taking sides or are we neutral in this whole fight? But so being that you're on the stage, I gotta ask you that question. Are we taking sides or are we remaining neutral when there's fighting going on between parties that you might rock with on each side that don't rock with each other?
So when it came to that clip of that thing that was just on this stage that I know some of you have relations with, whatever reason, and making that slanderous statement, I'm actually glad Sonny or whomever that was recorded it because I save all that stuff to my dossier. I like that tweet because that was something I needed to hear. I always knew that Ashy, messy lesbian is a disgusting, despicable person. And now they're getting into slander. And, we all talk about being on code and being out there and putting our faces out there and really doing the work. And it is in a room with a avatar, a guy who hasn't had an avatar, who uses a voice box. He trolls everyone. He tries to troll you. He tries to troll me and spreading lies. And my thing is, if we got to offer receipts about Camilla, which she has been bashed, and I said in the space yesterday about some things that were not true. If receipts have to be offered about Camilla, then the same expectation should be offered when it comes to me. Someone should have said to Horgan, where are the receipts? You are saying Marcel has mismanaged money. Where are the receipts? The FTC.gov, every expenditure a federal candidate makes is public. I have to do quarterly reports. Every cent has to be accounted for. And if the FCC finds out that you have not spent the money in a way that is approved, they don't necessarily cite a candidate right away, but usually when they do, it's going to be public. So my thing is receipts have to be made. So when I like that tweet, I liked it because it was revealing what I already knew about that thing that just left this Twitter space here.
All right, and that was my question because, like I said, I rock with people that just don't rock with each other, and I'm not gonna call for anybody to produce receipts on that's y'all's beef. If that's what it calls for, if Morgan want to post up some receipts, or if you want to post that's y'all beef that y'all got going on. Nobody's gonna tell me, yo, you gotta force Morgan to put up ain't nobody gonna tell me to do that. That ain't my beef. So I don't understand the logic in that. And I couldn't understand. I could understand what you mean when you're saying what you're saying, but when it comes to me personally, I don't rock like that. So I'm not telling nobody to post up anything unless it's directly affecting me. So
no, I ignore a lot of things too. But what I'm talking about is we've all sat here, and I'm not just talking to you directly. I'm talking to us. We've all sat here and we've all talked about if someone says something, they got to put receipts up, show the paperwork. I think there's even a tweet up in the Jumbotron about that. That should be the standard all the way across. I didn't see none of y'all on the platform when that thing was up there slandering me. But
Let me tell you what happened.
whoa, hold up.
Let me tell you what happened.
Wait, Ali, before you go, wait a minute. Because there was a lot of people going back to the October 16th rally. There was a lot of people on them Tariq Nasheed stages when he was talking about this is a tether, democratic, et cetera, rally that's being put together at Washington, D.C. I ain't hear nobody publicly checking or asking for no receipts. I didn't hear that. I ain't saying it wasn't heard. I'm just saying I didn't hear that. So nobody ain't gonna put me in no box. That's just not gonna happen. And I'm not gonna put nobody else in no box.
I can't
So
speak for what Tariq said or didn't say, but I can speak for what I said and did. I spoke in support of the rally once I found out that you and Ross were there. So no one puts me on a leash and tells me either how I'm going to respond to a situation. I speak for myself and think for myself. But what I'm saying, I like the energy we have of rallying around reparationists. And I would just like that energy reciprocated. And again, y'all weren't on the stage as far as I saw when that thing was putting those lives out there. But I want to say that since that thing likes to have a presence in this space, if she's going to be up here, and I'm referring to it as a she, if she's going to be up here talking all this big talk about paperwork and receipts, then when she decides to slander someone, she better have those receipts as well. And I think that's something we all would ask for if we were in the other shoes.
No doubt. And then we need to get to Chad because he's waiting. But I'm gonna tell you, in that space, that guy, I don't know his name, Black some shit, whatever. I actually got into it with him in that space when he was trying to call himself checking us about your mismanaging of your campaign finances and stuff like that. How come we didn't hold you to account? Right? Me and him got into a big thing over that. A lot of people in here was actually in the room when that happened. And so ultimately we put that dude in his place about that. It's like, yo, man, don't come in here with all that kind of foolishness, man. If you want to check him about something, you check him. You
Can I
understand?
be real quick, yo? Chad, I'm gonna do like 45 seconds. And you're right,
Mhm.
Naeem. I don't always address every single ignorant thing I hear either. If I did that, I'll have a head full of gray hair right now. Because there's just always gonna be nonsense out there. But sometimes I do. Like I knew people were taking your words out of context when you say you're not black. And I explained to people what you mean. Like we're doing lineage-based reparations and policies. Like race to a great extent in this lineage-based movement is irrelevant. So I have done that. But I'm saying when it comes to like allegations about reparationists who are actually doing reparationist policies, no, I'm not an elected candidate, but I did run for office, and I am held. I'm going to be held accountable by the FBC. The same way Camilla's on that task force, and that's reparationist work. When reparationist people doing reparationist work are attacked, we don't always have to like or support every candidate, but I do feel the same standard should be where is the paperwork to prove that this is true? And thank you, Ali, for doing that. I knew you were a person of integrity, and I knew that thing that just left was not. And I land there.
No doubt, brother Chad, because I don't want you to keep waiting. Go on, bro.
I appreciate you, brother. Peace to the room, peace to the family. I want to start off by just wishing everybody a happy holidays. I hope you are, staying safe, healthy, surrounded by loved ones, and enjoying this time at the end of the year. I want to put some of this in perspective. If you look back over it, for those of us that have been around since 2018, 2019, we end every year like this. Every year has ended on something of this nature, right? And I look at it as growing pains. And to speak to the title of the room, 2020 year has been an incredible year for the reparations movement. And I think we all need to take a breath, take a step back. And Nahiem, I love how you open the room because that's exactly where I'm at right now. I'm in celebration mode, not because we have, reached the goal, but because of all the steps that we have taken towards that goal this year. If you think back to how we started 2022, the task force had just started meeting the prior year. We didn't have a lineage standard. We were still very much in a contentious fight over who should be eligible, right? That wasn't until March that we settled that. You think about the other things that happened this year with the disaggregation bill in California being signed by Gavin Newsom into law, the first of its kind in the country that recognizes us as a specific and unique group that also resurfaces freedmen into the American legal lexicon, right? That's not to be minimized. Like understand how huge that is in our quest to get reparations for our people. We look at all of the awareness and excitement around reparations that's been generated by people in this room, like people I see. I see the faces. I see the people that I know. I talk to you. I know what you're doing. I know how you out here. I know how you stomping. The awareness where we're being covered by national, international media, right? This has been a year of maturation for our movement. where we have all come into new knowledge. We have all come into new spaces, some of them being very uncomfortable, but we have navigated through and we've continued to push forward. I think about all the work that CJEC and NAASD and ARCC and Roz, I see you in here from the DMV, and what the New York Freedmen did in their areas, what BTP has been doing, what Marcel running for office. All of these things have contributed to building this crescendo within the reparations movement that have us this excited and this passionate at the end of this year. So I'm floating on cloud 9 because I see this energy carrying over to next year, and we really getting into this federal conversation. I forgot the presentations at the OMB. Like we can't even overlook that, right? Like I watched the presentation you guys did. It was excellent. It aligned with what we did when we presented it in NAASD. There's so much to celebrate that happened this year. I don't want us to lose sight of that as we deal with the noise that's going to continue to surround us. This is going to happen. It's only going to intensify. So I don't want people to become prisoners of the moment and lose sight of the macro view of what we've accomplished this year. CJEC has run, I don't even know the number, maybe Tiffany can help me, but it's over a dozen community events north to south in California. I mean, going out into the community, making sure they're aware. People show up, they get excited. The interim report, 500-page report, most consequential document since the Kerner Commission report, was dropped this year, right?
That's right.
All of these things have happened this year. So I want us to take the whole picture, right? Let's not get caught up in like what one Twitter space did, you know what I'm saying, or what one tweet said. I want us to take it all in the comprehensive view of what has happened and understand that we are in so much better a place than we were when we started this year. We have moved this needle forward. We are closer to getting justice for ourselves, for our ancestors, for our progeny. And that's something that as you're sitting around and you're enjoying these holidays, smile about that. Be happy about that. And keep reparations on your lips and keep talking about it, because we are moving forward. We are getting there,
That's
fam.
right, bro.
So I want you all to grasp and wrap your arms around that and say, you know what? 2022, man, we did the thing. 2023,
yes,
we're gonna put jet fuel in the engine. You know what I'm saying? Like think about this. Think about this. Y'all are having conversations about reparations on Christmas Eve.
That's
you know
right.
what I'm saying? Like we wasn't doing this 5 years ago. This wasn't this wasn't where we were. But here we are now as a community. And even there will always be these disagreements. There will always be, we don't see exactly eye to eye. That is going to happen. But what I know is I hear more people talking about reparations than ever before. And and as far as I'm concerned, that's a good thing. Even the people with bad information, because then you know what happens? They talk about reparations, and then a bunch of people with good information seek them out and they pull them in and they say, yo, here's the information, right? Engage with this. Read From Here to Equality, right? I forgot about the Atlanta Summit. There's so much that happened this year that we need to be celebrating, y'all. Like you need to be looking back and saying, wow, like we did, like grassroots, community, freedmen, however you want to look at it. And here's the thing, I don't get involved in what people want to call themselves to each other and culturally. I respect your decision to be called whatever you want to call yourself. But on the mission to get where we want to go, I'm always going to pick up the best tool to get us there. And if I got to drop another tool because it's not doing the job, if I need a hammer for a nail and all I got is a screwdriver, I'm going to put down the screwdriver, I'm going to grab the hammer. So we are moving and we are evolving in this, and we are maturing and we're growing up. A couple years ago, all of us were repping a hashtag, right? A couple years ago, I think I said this on your show when you guys had us on. I was a Pan-Africanist, like 10 years ago. So all of us are growing, all of us are learning, and all of us are doing this with the collective in mind, and that's a beautiful thing. So I just wanted to wish everybody happy holidays. I wanted to put a little perspective onto the year so that we can realize the leaps and bounds that we took this year. I mean, if y'all only knew how many meetings Tiffany has had and scheduled for us this year, where we are talking to not only our city officials, our county officials, but we talking to people in the White House. And I told her this early on. I said, Tiffany, I never thought we'd be having these conversations so quickly, and that we would be so effective in these conversations, right? But we are. Like, I want the family to understand what is happening, and it's a beautiful thing what is happening. So don't get bogged down in the mud. Don't get dragged down into the mud. Elevate yourself, elevate your mind, and we can have these conversations. We can talk these things out, but let's love each other through it, because that's what's got us here. And I'll stop right there. But happy holidays to everybody, and I sincerely love each and every one of y'all.
Happy holidays, brother Chad. Can I intervene real quick, brother
Definitely.
Nahiem?
Let me just give a shout out
No doubt.
to my brother Chad, man. You know, there's certain people that I listen to in this movement outside of my team. And when I hear them, they kind of help temper my fighting spirit. And Chad, right,
That's right.
outside of the team, is one of them people. When I listen to him, he helps to temper my fighting spirit. And I know Chad can fight, because we done, you know, done sat down and we had a nice little debate at the Airbnb. It was a
Facts. That's facts.
discussion / debate. So I'm like, you know, I look for certain stuff in certain people. And I remember when y'all was going at it with the Pan Africans, and it was you, Logic, Ibrahim, and brother Derek from the DMV.
Oh, that
And
was
we was
powerful. Chad
Yeah.
went
that was
crazy.
powerful, man. And I was recapping it, and I was like, yo, Chad was in there. I was like, you ever watch one of them boxers that's, you know, they don't do too much movement, they just good with they jab? I was like, Chad was in there just jab, effective, sharp jabs to the bridge of the nose. I said he was just going in. And I peeped you from that point. And I just want to give you your flowers as well while you're here on the stage, and keeping that spirit of love in the air, because when you are accomplishing things, it's like, damn, this is the focus. This is where our head should be at, and we need to wrap our minds around that, and grapple with that thing constantly. That's why he said it's Christmas Eve and we're talking about reparations, meaning that even though it's a day to be festive and do your pre-celebratory stuff, we still having a conversation about what? About reparations, because we're getting closer and closer and closer and closer. So I just wanted to give honors to my brother Chad. I wanted to just give honors to all the family out there in Cali for y'all's tireless work that's leading the way in this reparation space. No doubt about that. So shout out to you, brother.
Thank you, brother. And I return all of that to you. You know, we love y'all out here. We love anybody that's doing this work and doing this work for the collective, because you got to love us as a people, and you got to love yourself, and you got to want to see better for our people all around this country to be doing this work. Ain't nobody here paid. Ain't nobody here, you know, as you see, a lot of us take shots. We you know, we always getting hit. And I appreciate you saying that, you know, because from my perspective, and Dr. Darity, you know, said this to me early on. There are no good arguments against reparations. You are standing on the righteous side of history. You are fighting for the righteous fight. Just know that. Stand on it 10 toes down. We coming back in 2023, and you thought 2022 was something. 2023 is going to be something else for the history book. So I return all the honors and love to everybody in this room, everybody around the country that's connected, that's doing work, that's just, even if you just doing it online, I'm fine with that too, because this has to be a conversation that we have in everywhere, like I always say, in all our spaces. So brother, thank you so much for the platform, for allowing me to speak. I'm gonna drop down, but y'all keep going. Don't get discouraged. Don't get caught in the mud.
Oh, no
Indeed.
doubt.
Honors.
we're not. Let me say this: we're not getting caught in anybody's mud. That's never gonna happen. It don't matter what they type on Twitter. It's not gonna happen. You know what I mean? That's just
That's
some like
right.
funny style stuff they like talking. But anyway,
Yeah.
go ahead. Freedom Media. Which you was gonna say something, Naheem?
No. Go ahead, brother Shane.
So I once again want to give Chad more flowers. I just don't believe that you can ever edify somebody enough that's doing the real work in this space. You know, we have people that are in this space, and he brought something up. He made me want to grab the mic again. This is another reason why I rock with y'all and really fuck with y'all so heavy, because I knew what I knew walking into the space and learning and understanding things under the guise of ADOS. And when I met up with y'all and I was able to learn so much more with lateral thinking and not such a tunnel vision situation, I also figured out who I was, who I had been. And I've talked about this, really not a lot, because I really don't try to shout out. I'm not one of them yesteryear motherfuckers. I have stats and I have receipts and I've been around here. But one of the things that I didn't realize was how confused politically I was coming into the situation when we were dealing with the hashtag, because I had really lived a life of Pan-Africanism, but not lived a life of Pan-Africanism. If you give me a second to break that in, because I'm trying to throw a verbal lure. I'm not going to be up here long, but I'm trying to throw a verbal lure to the people that are somewhat confused out here. And I always felt like I was a do for selfer, because at 21, I became the youngest black man to ever own a restaurant in the city of Ann Arbor, the city where University of Michigan is, the city of trees, the city of great things. If you look up a lot of black scholars, a lot of American freedmen scholars, they went to University of Michigan. But I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about learning how to break my own dollar at 21 was a really strange thing for me, because I went back into the corporate world and then I started letting someone give me a check. And then my kids were born and I wanted to raise my kids and I wanted to be the most fruitful for my kids. So I did a lot of do for self stuff. Then I did a lot of corporate stuff, and I became politically confused, because although I believe that we should have did for self, I also knew that I was American. I also knew that I deserved the same things that the other people were getting, because I was working just as hard as I was. But I didn't live as an American freedman. I still went back into the wheel, that hamster wheel of life, and kept doing just what pretty much everybody is doing out here that is not a serial entrepreneur like myself, but occasionally has to go back into that corporate infrastructure to make things right with their family. I just felt confused. And once I got aligned with y'all and I started to see that my life had been not so ineffective, but it had just been all over the place, I was really starting to able to align my thoughts that I could live the life of a do for selfer, but also know that this is been politically set. I'd be a multimillionaire had I had what my white counterparts had when they started businesses or took over family businesses at the same age or even later in life. I would be way further ahead, because I would have got it from the soil, which is where American freedmen have to get it from the soil. We don't get generational wealth sent down to us the way other lineage based folks do. Where we are right now is we're looking for recompense for our ancestors to give to our future, because we've already lived. And this is the young people that I'm seeing. I know that there's some elders in these spaces. Well, they really not elders. Elders give you wisdom. Old niggas cause shit. So I know that there's some old niggas in some of these spaces. But for the most part, I know that we're catching a lot of the flack, and there's a lot of the rigmarole that's being spread around by some of the youngins, late 20s, early 30s, maybe even early 40s. But from what I know, it's younger people. So I'm just going to throw this verbal lure out here and make them understand we know where you're at. We know exactly where you're at. And the reason we know where you're at was because we were here, some of us 30, most of us 20, some of us even 10 years ago. But let us tell you right now, because we're going to be as real as titty milk. It ain't the same as it was for us 30, 20, and 10 years ago for y'all out here. And y'all not going to be able to go as far as we did 30, 20, and 10 years ago because America is cutting off our water. And if we don't fight for repair, if we don't fight for redress, if we don't fight for recompense for American freedmen, we're done. We are done. We have no choice. So you can be a do-for-selfer. You can work within the corporate infrastructure. You can be whatever religious-based situation you want to be. Without reparations for American freedmen, we are done. State initiatives will keep us breathing. But a national full schedule of reparations, and we're not just talking about a check. They owe us for so many harms on so many different levels. And if you want to learn
That's
about
right.
those harms, then you need to be checking into BPP. But that's what's going on. You're not understanding the dynamic. Everybody's hung up on this 223,000, or some are hung up on 800,000, the lunacy of it all. Some are held up on gold bullion. But if anybody would really understand what they were talking about at that task-based meeting, that specific meeting was one of the harms. There's multi-level harms, and that was just one. And now everybody's got themselves in a tizzer because of that. That was only one of the harms. And nobody's talking about that. And when that has been spoken by Brother Chad, by Brother Marcus, by Freedman's Sister for Life, by the Queen of LA, everybody that's out west, Friday Jones, they don't want to listen. They over in their own spaces talking about what's not, what's hot, who's got shot. Fuck all that. The education is here. So I'm trying to throw that verbal lure out because I caught that verbal lure. And once I got reeled in, I didn't get thrown in a bucket. I was set free into the Freedman waters. And right now, y'all not free. Y'all in a little pond right now, or multiple ponds. And y'all
That's
just keep
right.
jumping from pond to pond. Jump off into these Freedman waters because they're endless. This water
Well,
will never stop flowing.
bro,
Let
they
me get up
don't.
out of here before I start dropping
No,
bars.
no, no, no,
Let
no,
me
no.
get up
You
out of
good.
here.
You good, but they don't. They don't really want to acknowledge the freedmen thing because a lot of them are coming from the perspective of um they were free blacks or free people of color or free Negroes who were really Indians that were reclassified or declassified, as I see, misclassified, as I've seen, as Negroes, blacks, colors, mulattoes, etc. And so, the truth of it is like I said earlier, they don't necessarily see themselves as the same people as us, because really, in essence, that's what they're saying. They're saying they're a different group of people who should be included in the California legislation because they have been forced into the racial classification of Negroes, blacks, colors, mulattoes, etc. And so, because they were forced into these racial classifications by way of reclassification, they should then be included in the reparatory justice of the state of California. So, like I'm saying, man, they actually, if you listen closely
I
to what
got it
they're
now.
saying,
Yep.
they actually believe that they're a different group of people being using the same racial name.
I've heard y'all say this. So, and maybe, and I apologize for not listening clearly enough to speak until this moment, because this is my last thing. I'm coming down. I got to get to Home Depot and get these last minute situations. So, they're saying they are a totally different class of people. I get it. I get it. And I will respect it as this. You find people that are strong, like the people that are working with and indirectly of the task force,
Mhm.
and write your own legislation,
Absolutely.
write your own restorative justice bill.
Right.
And here's the thing. What we won't do, we won't take time away from the American freedmen's, and there's African American in there. We had to play the language game. The African Americans reparations bill in the state of California. We won't take our
Right.
time because we're not going to venture off our path to direct someone else's path. So what we will do, though, we won't take any of the people that are working so hard on this reparations task force and directly with these task force members and indirectly with these task force members. But what we will do, we will not obstruct you. We will not speak against you. We will not
Absolutely.
work directly or indirectly against you,
In
seeking
opposition
your
to you.
own
That's right.
reparations claim as Aboriginal people, as another people, as a reclassified people.
Come
We will
on.
not work against you. And that right there, my friends, is the strongest ally you can ever have, is when somebody
Come on,
does
bro.
not work against you.
There you go. And you know, it to me it's really simple. You just laid it out. Just do your thing, because ultimately you have a separate claim. And people have been telling them that. But really it's based on the fact that they're a different group of people. And you know, like Friday said in the other space, everybody has the right to peoplehood. Okay, cool. But this particular legislation is geared towards people who suffered the institution of Negro chattel slavery and other subsequent harms, but are also of African ancestry. They claim that they are not of African ancestry. So then this legislation is not for you. You need to do something that is for people who are of Indian ancestry, who were forced to be Black people, Negroes and colors, etc. That's the way you do that, because this is a whole separate issue that we're talking about. And if there's overlap in terms of some of the racism that these Aboriginal quote unquote Black people face in the state of California, okay, well then you put that in your claim too. But there's no reason to try to halt someone else's justice or obstruct someone else's justice, because it's formulated the way that it's formulated. It's for people of African descent. You guys have declared since last year, the year before, that you're no longer of African descent. So, I mean, that's fine. You know, that's fine. I'm not telling you what you are, but come on, man, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that to everybody else that's working, trying to get stuff done, who understands, you know, what happened with the transatlantic slave trade and slavery in this country and all that. Don't do that, man. Y'all, they're actually